I was floating in a hospital room now.
What do you see there around you?
My mom. I think that's me.
What do you look like?
Kind of wrinkly, little. Mom's holding me. She has trouble feeling a connection, but she's smiling. I honestly don't have feelings about it. And I see my dad's mom and her mom.
Is there anyone else in the room?
There are a lot of, some of them are like big and angelic, and some of them are fairies of different sizes. And I think a couple of them are people or masters, I can't tell. And they're surrounding everybody in the room. They're just watching. My mom hemorrhaged a lot, and so they're helping her too. It's almost like supporting me and adjusting to the world. That must be with all babies too. Like they're more connected to the unseen because they can't do very much with the seen anyway. My mom seems a little bit dissociated.
And what is the rest of your family doing?
They don't really notice. They're not really picking up on it. They think she's just tired. And they're also just excited for my dad's first daughter. I could tell my mom's going through some things, and nobody else is everybody's kind of just like wrapped up in the experience and not really noticing. Seems depressed. My dad is in good spirits. My great grandma thinks I'm something real special, more than my parents or my grandparents. I'm seeing I got all kinds of like little shots. So what I'm feeling is that I'm seeing this to be aware of the energetics I was born into. I incarnated. There's like something to do with the energy you're born into, and also the energy of the maternal energy through the pregnancy. It's affecting me, I think, as a soul, as a spirit, as a person in general. Yeah, so wow. So what I'm realizing now is I've always had these things with my left side. Like right now, my right side is bothering me because of all the leaning on it. But when my left side has always been the weakest. I've lost some muscle and bone on the left side of my face. Everything's just a little bit weaker on the left side, and that's obviously the maternal side.
Right.
And down to I have a little bit of a frostbite where I actually lean into the right side with my lower jaw. Because as I was shaping, and growing and everything, through my experience, it seemed that the masculine was stronger and the feminine was weaker. And so I tried to lean more into those energies, somewhat unconsciously, somewhat consciously, and embodying more energetically masculine traits in attempt to be stronger. Some of the energetics I'm carrying now are from my mom and my mom's lineage. I'm I'm seeing my grandma now and remembering that she survived the Great Depression, and I would imagine going through the Great Depression, it could be traumatizing, and up in Queens, New York, where there's not a lot of farms and stuff, and so you never know if you're going to be able to eat or what's going to happen. I definitely feel like some of that got to those energetics went to my mom and then to me. I look at my dad and his side of the family. Something off. They had an exporting business, and they just bolted from Malta super fast and left it all behind, and it all just dissolved. the ancestral karma, because it seems that their business was in fact the actual money was coming from moving heroin. That's so strange, because I've always gotten that my addiction was ancestral, but no one in my family has a heroin addiction. Like, it was karmic, but no one in my family has a heroin addiction except for like one distant cousin. I'm hearing that on a soul level, I agreed to take on these and transcend, or at least attempt to transcend these karmic patterns for the family.
And would your higher self like to share with you any insights on how to transcend this?
I'm doing it. Continue to take periodic inventory and be sure that I'm aligning with my values and not repeating patterns, and taking the action steps to ensure that whatever patterns are not benefiting me, that I'm doing it different. And it doesn't matter if I do it different one time, two times, five times, 10 times, and it's not quite right. As long as I do it different, it's going to get a little bit better every time.
How's that going to show up for you?
Greater sense of security, a greater sense of feeling like I'm capable. And, most of my life, I've had this feeling, and it doesn't matter if I'm actually doing something quote unquote wrong. It's like, if somebody calls my name, it's like, shoot, what am I in trouble for now? Even after all this time, even before I was getting in trouble. And that will begin to lift also. I've been carrying things that aren't completely organically mine. It's like I began carrying things that weren't mine, but have chosen to participate in what I have. And I'm seeing that's part of also why I went through some of the things that I went through. The higher purpose of that is to transcend karmic bonds and establish teamwork, and eventually lead from a place of synergy in forgiving, in letting go, in understanding, in rising above. It allows for one to have a high level of diplomacy and ability to connect in with other people.
Is this something that you're already doing? Is transcending this in this way?
Yes, although it feels slow.
Is there any other information that you need to continue on this process?
Well, I need to know that I'm perfect for where I am, and I need to interact more with people and create more friendships so that I can anchor in new perspectives on what interacting with people brings.
Are there any steps you need to take to start building those friendships and making those connections?
I need to make time. In order to make time, I need to break my resistance to creating a schedule. And I also need to work with the womb space more and release some of the trauma stored there and in the solar and womb.
We can definitely touch on that today, where the root is of this resistance to making a schedule.
I literally fill every second of my day so much that I forget to do it until I'm in bed. And then I put so much in my day that, like, it's like, okay, I'll do that later, and I just never do it.
Is there a way for you to make it more manageable for you?
Set a reminder on my phone for 8:30 p.m. every night, and then again at 9 p.m. every night to make sure I do my schedule for the next day, if I haven't not done it yet. Several reminders.
In the scene she was viewing before, is there any more information she needs at this time?
She needs to know that that will never happen again, and that we're moving to a place where that won't happen to anyone, and that in her experiencing that, she is helping create by transcending all of it a world where stuff like that can't happen. That was part of also something karmic for her previously, like a completion of a lesson or an experience.
Is that something that she needs to know about? What happened previously?
Just that previously she'd experienced the other side of it.
You had mentioned that they were scaring her free will from her. Is that something that she has gotten back?
Yes, although she still needs a few soul retrievals to bring back her essence entirely.
And what's the best way for her to go about that?
She knows how to do it. Just be consistent every 3 months.
And as she's in this space now, is there any of that that can be done for her, that she can have that part of her back now?
Yes.
Yes. As this retrieval happens, is there important information that needs to come forward as this happens?
Hopefully she can let it go and not think about it anymore and not ask why.
What's the importance of that?
Extra thought space and energy to create more favorable situations.
If one of those thoughts starts to come up, what can she do?
Affirm that the God power within her is greater, while still honoring in that moment that the thought that comes up, and honoring the emotion that comes from that. But then once in those brief moments, whatever realization or lesson the emotion has to teach, then she can release it through her God power. Just to know that she didn't miss out on anything. She has not made the wrong choices. She's on a perfect trajectory at this time.
Has all of the soul retrieval that could be done today finished?
Yeah.
And what will she notice now that this has happened?
More energy, feeling more embodied, greater ability to focus and multitask. Keep the thought energy focused on the present moment and everything, the world she's desiring to create rather than constructs of the old world, the old paradigm. She is not aligned in giving energy to old paradigm constructs. So anytime she is focusing on that, she is losing energy, and she's losing energy via by not aligning with her source of supply directly.
What's that going to look like for her moving forward?
That's going to look like more self-empowerment, possibly selling the TV, and journaling, lots of journaling.
That's going to take some self-discipline, which is something that she was curious about working through today.
She sticks to a general routine, but there's too much being juggled to conduct most of the day without some sort of schedule or plan written out.
What can help her with this?
Slowing down for a short while to focus on her deconditioning, to focus on her journaling, and to focus on really being clear on what she wants to create at this time.
Are there things that can be taken off her to-do list? Are there any things that she can get rid of to free up some more time and space?
She can take many weekends and stay in the camper. This way she has her energy more to herself, and she's not being distracted by many other various beings wanting her attention.
If we could go back now, back a little bit to what we were speaking about before in that scene, she mentioned that it's what led her to bringing that entity into her life. Could you tell me more about that?
She was being tortured, and like just about anyone torturing, she began to dissociate and fracture herself out of survival. And in that's when he offered to make it all stop. But he would have to be a part of her. He kept his promise.
Is there anything else that you can tell me about this entity that she needs to be aware of?
They've been linked for millennia upon millennia. There's as much a deep bond there and a deep love, which is what makes it so difficult.
What's the purpose of that bond after all this time?
It just is that they're not even in the same world.
Who is this entity to her?
Everything. Husband, brother, sister, lover, father, mother, all of it.
So they've had many different roles throughout those lifetimes.
There are existences where the love purifies in a way where it's just pure universal love, and in that it's everything. It's a little bit of all of it.
She went through a process of releasing that attachment being within her and having control. Is that something that was fully released?
She's released the entity attachment itself. She has not yet fully released her attachment to the entity.
And why is that?
It helps her feel safe and loved. It's a voice and a presence that has been there almost her whole life.
She did mention she felt a bit confused, or kind of like her thoughts were a bit manipulated at some points in relation to this entity. Could you tell her more about that?
It would attempt to protect her, but it would, because of its own distortions, it would sometimes block her from good things too.
Does she have a say-so on whether this is going to happen anymore or not?
Absolutely. It's
And
no longer attached to her. They no longer have a contract.
if she feels that confusion in her mind ever again, what can she do?
Go within and ask herself why she is looking outside of herself. Why does she need something outside of herself? She feels naked without it. More so when she first got rid of it. She feels more whenever she'd be hurt, that would like slap a band-aid on her right away. She wouldn't have to feel the pain. But it's also pain is how you heal. Now it's just a matter of accepting pain as it comes and using her and her power to navigate and transmute it rather than a distraction.
Whenever she feels like she wants that comfort and love,
Go within or connect with a person, which is petrifying to her.
why is that so scary?
It's resulted in pain in the past. misunderstanding, betrayal. But since her energetics are different, much different now, it should not reflect the same situations back. You just have to let go of those associated beliefs.
So there's no more need to worry.
As long as she's making humble connections rooted in pure intention and love, yeah.
Whenever she goes into making a connection with someone, is there a process that she can go through so she's confident?
Gut response.
As she becomes more confident in herself, is this going to help with her self-worth, or is this rooted in something a bit different?
But she also has the unconscious shame of that experience and the conscious shame of her addiction and for where she's at.
And can we connect to this energy of shame that she's felt to see what messages are there for her? Anything she needs to know to where she can release this?
Yes. And all the shame is an ego-driven misconception of oneself. It's a lack of acceptance of oneself. And when one is not accepting oneself, they don't want to share that. They don't feel worthy of sharing themselves with others. They don't feel worthy of receiving. They don't feel worthy of a creation being appreciated. And so releasing that and instilling the idea of how we are all perfect in this moment. As shame arises, and when something like that arises, it's always good to say, okay, where did this come from and why? And when you can target the why, it could be an indicator as to something that may be out of alignment with your values, or it could point one to a belief that needs to be released.
Is there anything that needs to be released as we're looking through all of these messages that shame holds for her?
Yeah, just any idea that she is so different from everybody else. And in a way, she's different, but not in a bad way. But her thoughts and ways of attempting things are not at all novel. Not at all novel. She's doing better than she thinks. Sending some blue and gold light through, sending that through to adjust and purify, to empower and emotionally balance.
And is this what's occurring for her now? What difference is she going to feel after this?
She may be emotional for a few days, but she'll feel more aligned with herself.
What does this light feel like to her in this moment?
Comforting, cleansing.
And before we say goodbye to this shame and release it, is there anything else for her?
Just seeing love. It's like getting rid of everything that isn't you, leaves more room for you to be the true you to be.
Is it okay to release that now? Okay. So can she have a confirmation of this being complete?
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to go back for a moment to finishing up some questions that she had about this connection with this entity. Is there really any need for putting her guard up around this energy?
No. She doesn't need to put her guard up, but it would not be recommended to open up either, to do anything that would, when communicating or interacting with it, that would cause her to lose control of her energy.
Right.
So it's not recommended under any mind altering substance.
And what benefit did this entity have being connected with her?
Their connection is home to both of them.
To both of them? And did she provide any healing to this energy?
In a sense, yes. In a sense, it provided it for itself by staying.
Has she completely healed from that connection?
The connection came in to heal. So yes and no. I would say the manner in which she is not the most not healed from that is just feeling as though she misses it so much.
Mhm. That longing that she has, is that a comfort that she can find within herself to feel complete?
In a sense, in another sense, she just needs to learn how to sleep without a physical hug around her or what feels like a physical hug.
Is this something that she can provide for herself energetically?
Yeah,
If she wanted to do that, what can she say or do?
she can affirm her safety and security,
What's that gonna feel like when she does that?
grounding. Like she has enough of a protection. She can also call in the parts of her that are the angels or her oversoul to comfort her if she needs.
The last question that I have directly about the entity, does it need any assistance to get back to source or anything at this time?
No,
Whenever she released that attachment, was there any openings or empty space within her after it left that needs to be filled with source light at this time?
not anymore. No.
As she releases these challenges with self trust and shame, self worth, things that we've discussed so far, is there any openings that need to be filled with source light at this time to replace those?
Yes.
Is that something we can do now at this time to bring that in? Okay, let's go ahead and do that now and tell me what that feels like to bring that source light into those areas.
It's like almost like when you drink a smoothie and you really needed a smoothie and you just feel it nourishing you.
I would like to do this again with any more releasing that we do, but for now, is that complete?
Yes.
Yes? Wonderful, thank you. The next thing I would like to ask about is her sleep paralysis. What can you tell us about what she was experiencing in those times?
There were tracking devices primarily. Um, there there were mostly tracking devices as well as an inhibitor and something else in the solar plexus that would siphon the energy from that center. And that was longer ago.
And where were those devices coming from?
Draco reptilian.
And what else does she need to know about that, those implants?
And the way it was happening, it is absolutely over. But
Those devices, are they there
no,
still? They've been removed?
yes.
Mm. And is that anything that she has to look out for in the future?
Be very weary of interacting with anyone in Hollywood or agreeing to do anything in that industry.
Mhm. What does she need to look out for if anything were to ever happen? What would be the tell sign for her?
That she starts having a dramatic change in her desires and or personality.
And as long as she watches to be wary of the people in Hollywood, is there anything else there? Anything else that she needs to be aware of?
Also politics, and to know that she was meant for for using her magic in a practical and humble way.
How does that show up for her?
It's not quite showing up yet, but this is something that she's learning to figure out, that she's in the process of figuring out.
So we were talking about the implants. That's all been released, and as of right now, that's nothing to be concerned with.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that may be taking from her energy that she needs to be aware of?
No.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about her barriers being broken down when she smokes. What can you tell her about that?
She is more vulnerable under any substance that alters her mind.
In what way is she vulnerable?
For her, and where her energy is at now, what will happen if she indulges in cannabis or even another kind of plant medicine? What will happen is the auric field will become more static, but also pull itself in more. So when it becomes more static, that's almost like things can get in a lot easier because it's not solid, it's not filled in. And that's just the nature of what those substances do. They open up the astral body and they kind of make your aura easier to penetrate. And that's how you can have spiritual experiences and healing experiences on these medicines when used ceremonially.
So she can feel comfortable if she decides to smoke. Is there anything that she can do beforehand to keep some kind of a barrier up to where she's still protected from any outside sources?
Yes. She can do the same protection she's doing now, which is pulling up bubbles from the earth and using a septogram. But at the same time, it's recommended to not use those substances.
There are different reasons why she wanted to use those, like to be able to sleep better, to not use those things for that. Is there something else that she can do to sleep through the night more soundly?
She needs to honor the cycles of it for some time and accept that if she's sleeping, that's wonderful. If she's not sleeping, then that's okay. She'll be okay.
So sometimes she doesn't need all of the extra hours of sleep.
Well, she very much benefits from having a full night's sleep, but at the same time, when she is in the process of learning to sleep without an aid, she needs to just be okay with having a rough time of it at first. Magnesium will be helpful, as well as supplementation with California opium, California poppy, the Bocap, lemon balm.
And as we're talking about these supplements that she can take to help with sleeping, if you could now do a body scan for her and let her know any deficiencies that she may have within her body.
There are not any deficiencies.
That's wonderful.
The womb area, the sacral needs work,
What needs to be done there?
trauma release, and strengthening the connection to the center.
Can you tell us now what needs to be released?
Memories of being misunderstood and deceived and abandoned and misled.
Is there anything else that needs to be released from that area?
Right now, I'm just seeing it as kind of gray stuff. Do it, spin it counterclockwise to get it out.
Is this something that she can go ahead and release and let go of?
Yes,
Yes.
at least the majority. Yes, absolutely.
And what's left behind after we release this?
Teaching tools.
Is that something that she'll be shown later on in time, or is it something she can know about now?
She'll learn it in time. It's what's left would be so minuscule that would have to build up over time to even know how to address it. Some of these things aren't even manifest in the physical body yet.
Can you tell me what that experience is like, releasing this? What does that look like?
Coming from a couple of ways where the earth is sent up a reverse clockwise vortex, as well as my sacral spinning counterclockwise. And also there's like this vacuum sucking everything out from the opposite way of the earth. And again, some violet and gold light to purify. And also for the center in particular, blue light that is balanced with the orange. Red, orange, and blue.
Can you let me know when this is complete?
It's complete.
Beautiful, thank you. Is there any other messages from that area of the body now that that's released?
Doing breath work with this area is also going to support it, breathing all the way into the sacral, and then holding it there for several seconds, and then releasing all that needs to be released through the breath.
When does she need to do this?
She can use her discernment when she feels pain or heaviness or pressure.
Since those things have been released, have they been filled with that source light?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any other areas of the body that need attention? Anywhere where anything has been stored or needs to be healed?
We're going to work a little bit on her arm and right buttocks.
What's that look like?
Calming of the nerves and muscles. So that's going to mean sending some blue and violet light in there with a little bit of orange.
What was the purpose of those areas having discomfort?
Slow down. Be still. It's okay to not constantly be doing something.
Has that healing been complete, or does it still need some time?
It's complete.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there any messages from her nervous system?
Cut back on caffeine. In fact, only have caffeine on occasion. In small amounts. When she's caffeinated, she gets so much energy that wants to be released at once. She can't even decide what to do next. She just needs to do whatever's most active, and so that will help her, and it will also help calm the nervous system and help bring it back into complete regulation. And then that combined with the entrainment, we'll call it sleep entrainment, that will help that as well. Also, continuing to eat in a manner that supports the microbiome. Lots of living food, no wheat, lots of vegetables. Eating to support a healthy microbiome is going to be very supportive to the nervous system and its healing process. And that's all.
Great, thank you. Her body is in complete harmony and good health.
In good health, and it's quite harmonious.
Great. So, is there anything else being stored within her body, including her energetic body, that needs to be released today?
The mistrust is greatly related to her brain and nervous system, and we can release some of that right now. Continue polarity correction when you run into these periods of time. And when you feel as though you're being breathed by life instead of breathing life. It's a short exercise, short breathing exercise.
Has that all been released now
Yes,
and filled with source light?
yeah.
Perfect. Her need for a stable foundation. Is that something that's still in there that she needs to sort through?
Doing an inventory will be very helpful in continuing to connect with people and see where they're at and what they feel they need to be supported. Will help direct her into creating something where she will have the foundation she needs to carry out and complete.
After this session, is that something that she's going to be drawn towards?
Yes.
What about the need for material success?
That is very much part of her blueprint and part of being an adult. So this will help her align with that. She will be using much of her material success to take care of others, and in that she can feel happy and worthy. So it's still encouraged for her to do some things for herself.
What's one really good thing for her to do for herself?
Super greens.
Wonderful. We've sorted through a lot of really good information for Lisa today. Is there anything for her in order to complete the intention that she had for this session? Anything else that we haven't worked through?
Just a reminder that, the world and her microcosmic world will be just fine if she's under par for a day or if she focuses on herself for a day. Following what lights you up. Keep following what lights her up. If it doesn't light her up, it's not for her.
She said that she feels this connection with fairies. What does she need to know about that connection with fairies?
That her family will be there for her whether she makes the time to connect or not.
Her family is with the fairies?
Yes.
And is that why she has that feeling about her parents in this life?
Yeah. Well, she's matured. She's matured and she's accepted them as basically ones that acted as surrogates for her. And she appreciates that, but she no longer needs to feel guilty about not feeling a connection, as a deep connection with them.
And she doesn't feel that anymore.
No.
It's good. And while she's in this session, before we finish up today, is there any messages from her fairy family?
Plant flowers.
What will this do?
She loves to cook and make things with flowers, and we like the flowers on the altar.
Are there any certain flowers?
She has seeds for chamomile and calendula, but she would also do altar-grown roses and lilac.
Are there ways that you show up for her to let her know that you're around?
She can feel us and she can see our lights.
Beautiful.
And we'd also like her to take time to visit us.
She knows how to do this?
We're always here. Whether we're here or there, we're always in between.
It's beautiful. I know she's going to really appreciate those messages that you've given her today. So thank you for coming forward.